Bro, have y'all seen the "we done with the '90s" trend, bro?
A lot of people really don't want to talk about it, but we really gonna talk about it. They was really ass, bro.
Man, we done with the 90s. The 90s and Michael Jordan have been getting exposed lately for being LA Fitness runs.
Look at this shit, bro. Right off rip, we had the GOAT Michael Jordan hitting the side of the backboard.
Bro, Ron Strickland had this man on suicide watch after he pulled these moves out the Duffy, bro.
We literally clown Russell Westbrook for that.
The cycle of life is that as the future approaches and things improve and get better, we look back upon the old era and realize that they were kinda mid. This exists in every facet of life, from cars to technology to fashion, especially in video games. I remember playing 2K17 and thinking to myself, this has got to be the pinnacle of graphics. This cycle of growth and subsequent re-examination of the past has found its way into basketball discourse in a way which I don't think a lot of people could have predicted. And it's resulted in Michael Jordan getting absolutely exposed on TikTok. As far as my take on the situation goes, do I believe that we should absolutely disregard 90s basketball in the past? No. Well, not exactly. I think that if I'm watching segregation basketball and an unk comes up to me and says, oh, Skabuki Norris had 55 points in a rec league game and he would cook curry, then I think there's some more credibility to disregarding that talk. But overall, I find the 90s to be a pretty decent era of basketball. But I'd be a liar if I said that I didn't derive some level of satisfaction from watching the recent trend of pulling up film from the 90s, specifically of Michael Jordan trying to go left and pulling the old heads cards a little bit. I think a lot of this slander has been done in jest or to poke fun and make fun of MJ, and while I do enjoy that, as something of a slander connoisseur myself, I think we could do better than that. So I've decided to put together a comprehensive list of 3 players who I think prove the modern NBA absolutely clears the 90s and any other era of basketball to exist thus far. And these aren't the typical generational talents like LeBron, Curry, Kobe, Shaq, because that'd be too easy. I want to bring attention to the modern NBA bum, the guys who can barely stay in the league, the mid of the mid. So this list is going to be of non-all-stars and guys who I believe if you put them in the 90s, their impact will be completely different. And this serves to indicate the major shift in talent that the league has seen in the years since the 90s. With all that being said, player 1, Grayson Allen. One of the things that very clearly makes it difficult for younger generations to appreciate Michael Jordan, or the way that he's spoken about, is the way that most people make it seem as though he was infallible. He never missed a shot, he always had this killer instinct and was always locked in. While I'm not doubting that MJ was really him, and he was undoubtedly great, there were a bunch of players who notoriously got him on occasion. And one of the more obscure players to do so was Rex Chapman. Chapman, a 6'4" combo guard out of Kentucky, ended up playing 12 seasons in the NBA for the Hornets, Bullets, Heat, and Suns. And he averaged 14.6 points, 2.5 rebounds, and 2.7 assists for his career. He shot 43% from the field and 35% from 3 on 3.5 attempts a game. He was by no means a scrub, but he wasn't a superstar. However, in 1996, in the middle of a game against the Chicago Bulls, Chapman ended up absolutely torching them, dropping 39 points on them with Jordan as his primary defender, and he shot 12 for 17 from the field and 9 for 10 from 3. This was the 72-10 Bulls with prime Michael Jordan, and they had the best defensive rating in the league, yet they couldn't stop a 6'4" guard who could shoot the ball and would take and make a lot of threes. With this prototypical type of player in mind, my first pick is Grayson Allen, another 6'4" athletic guard who can not only shoot the ball at a high clip, but he can also jump out the gym if need be. And he's willing to get aggressive back with Michael Jordan. For his career so far, Allen's averaged 10.3 points per game on 44.7% shooting from the field and 41% from 3 on 5 attempts per game. So he's more efficient than Chapman. On top of this, he's had more than a few games this season where he's been on fire from 3 in a way that the Bulls and evidently any other team from this era would have struggled to handle. This includes multiple 8+ 3-point make games and a game where he made 9 3-pointers against the Miami Heat, and back-to-back games where he made 8 threes against the Nuggets and the Raptors. Just judging off of most of the buckets that Rex got on the Bulls, and the fact that Phil Jackson literally had to switch Jordan off of him because he was getting cooked too bad, I think that putting Grayson Allen in the 90s would turn out better than you'd think for Grayson, and probably further expose the gap in skill between that era and the modern day. Player number 2, Justice Winslow. One of the lesser known stories about Michael Jordan that the recent rise in 90s slander has brought to the forefront is that there were defenders who were able to hold Jordan in check and force some pretty poor shooting performances out of him. And many of these guys haven't been the ones that Jordan has publicly stated were able to guard him, like Joe Dumars, who Jordan said was his best defender while simultaneously averaging 31.1 points per game for his career against him. Today I'm going to talk about a guy who actually was able to help hold Jordan to 22.4 points per game in their matchups, far below the 31 points he averaged on Dumars, and even held him to 13 points on horrible efficiency in one of the 10 losses that the 72-10 Bulls took during that season. Doug Christie. Doug Christie was the main guy tasked with guarding MJ and ultimately forced him into shooting 5 for 17 from the field. In fact, there were multiple instances during Christie's time on the Raptors where he forced Jordan into shooting a poor percentage and finishing with less than 20 points. These performances include an 8 for 21 shooting night where Jordan finished with 18 points and a 7-point win, a 5 for 17 shooting night where Jordan finished with 12 points and a 13-point win, and a 4 for 16 performance where Jordan only had 11 points in a game where admittedly, the Bulls kinda smacked the Raptors. The point that I'm trying to make with all of these performances is that Jordan evidently did struggle against Christie, and even if he wasn't guarding him 1v1 all the time, he did do so enough for there to be evidence to show that Jordan struggled with the physicality of the 6'6", 200-pound Christie. Due to the physical profile of Christie and Jordan's admission that the physicality did affect him, my next pick for a guy who would expose the 90s is Justice Winslow. Now this pick might be a little strange, but y'all need to do y'all homework on Justice Winslow. Standing at a strong 6'6", 222 pounds, Winslow brings more physicality and athleticism to the defensive side of the ball, along with the 6'10 wingspan, which is 1 inch longer than Christie's 6'9". Lastly, during his first 5 seasons with the Heat, Winslow had a 106.4 defensive rating, which is virtually identical to Christie's first 5 seasons of his career with the Raptors, where he had a 106.2. Winslow's physicality, athleticism, and defensive versatility, combined with his lack of shooting, would make him a beautiful fit for the 90s, and likely would have made him one of the better and more physically gifted defenders that Jordan would have played against, likely forcing him to struggle. Speaking of the increased physicality and overall boost in talent and athleticism, this leads me to our final player. Player 3, Mike James. Now we've all seen the iconic clip countless times at this point of Allen Iverson hitting Michael Jordan with the Iverson cross, and I've personally been pretty vocal on this channel about the impact that cross and Iverson as a whole had on the history of the league. But another reason behind why the NBA might be so against highlighting Allen Iverson is that he would absolutely torch Michael Jordan whenever they met up. In 13 games against Michael Jordan for his career, Allen Iverson averaged 29.8 points per game, with multiple 30 and 40 plus point games with more than 4 threes made. If you adjust these games to exclude Jordan's time on the Wizards where he was washed, it goes down to 27.1 points. Iverson's quickness and tight handle, as well as an occasional shooting stroke, oftentimes overwhelmed Mike whenever they matched up. And although MJ didn't play poorly against AI in these matchups, the stats show that AI cooked whenever they met up. In the time since Allen Iverson's left the league, players have only gotten more and more skilled, and the game has continued to evolve in ways that we all know about, but it's led to a lot of elite hoopers being left out of the NBA, and chief among them is Mike James. This pick is a timely one, especially because James just became the all-time leading scorer in the EuroLeague, and despite his numbers in the NBA being pretty poor, based on the skills he's displayed in Europe and in short bursts during his time in the league, I truly believe that he'd torch the 90s. This pick could extend to a bunch of shorter explosive scoring guards as well, like Isaiah Thomas, Marcus Howard, Tremont Waters, and a whole host of other elite talents who've been locked out of the NBA. Ultimately, with this list, my goal was just to further show the way that the floor of the talent in the NBA has grown so exponentially since the time of Jordan's retirement. And while I don't agree with the complete and utter lack of respect that's been shown to the 90s, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't agree with a lot of the points that were being made. Michael Jordan is undoubtedly an all-time great, and his legacy of winning and excellence is undeniable, but the game will always continue to evolve, and that's not a bad thing. We can appreciate the past eras of the NBA and acknowledge the ways that they've paved the way for newer generations that'll take the game further than their predecessors, and I think doing this benefits everybody. So that's gonna do it for this video. Like, subscribe, and do all that stuff. Later.
This might be it. This might be it. Look at Jordan start playing with his feet out here. He was overhyped